Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Dwight is on assignment tonight. And so are our Toronto Maple Leafs. Now they're getting ready to take on the Boston Bruins in Game 3 of this first round of NHL playoff action. Things are currently tied at 1 apiece in this crucial series. Our Greg Ross is out at Maple Leaf Square with all the fans. And Greg, this is the Leafs' chance to pull ahead in the series, and they'd love to do it on home ice tonight.
And there's no doubt about it, Kelda. The fans here are feeling it. There's a genuine buzz here in the air, and you can just tell with the series shifting back here into Toronto, these fans are ready to go. There's more people outside. Of course, there's going to be 20,000 fans inside the building, and they're feeling confident, especially after watching Austin Matthews score a game-winning goal in Game 2. How did that make you feel to see the Leafs win that game on Monday night?
Man, I was so amped. I was jumping up and down with my dad, man. Let's replicate it. Let's get 2 here, boys. Leafs in how many games, Chris?
We're the Leafs in 5.
Leafs in 5, baby. Come on now.
So there's some real excitement. There's some real anticipation. These fans think that this could be the year. These guys came here ready to watch some Leafs hockey, but they brought their Boston Bruins fan with them. What's going on with this guy wearing a Bruins shirt?
We couldn't convert him. This guy's a Washington fan. I got him to wear the Leafs jersey. This guy won't budge though.
All right. So he's one of maybe 2 or 3 people wearing that jersey. Any nerves at all coming here with that jersey on tonight?
Nah, I'm confident the boys are going to get the win, and it'll be a good time.
All right, he says it's going to be a good time if the Bruins win. I don't think these people here agree with you on that one. This is a regular, right? Are you nervous? I mean, standing beside this guy right here, telling you that the Bruins are going to win.
I like him, but I don't like his jersey, and Matthews doesn't like his jersey. Matthews going to put on a great show tonight. We're here, we're back home. All the fans are ready. We're going to get it done tonight, baby. Let's go.
Well, I'll tell you what, speaking of Austin Matthews, interestingly enough, the team had a full skate this morning. -1 player, and that was Austin Matthews. As you can imagine, people were a little nervous about that. Somebody who was on the ice was William Nylander. Now, Nylander, after playing all 82 games in the regular season, has missed the first 2 games of these playoffs with an undisclosed injury. The Leafs aren't saying what is wrong with him, but he did take part in the skate today. And afterwards, Sheldon Keefe talked about not just Nylander, but also Matthews.
There's a chance. Obviously, he's still out there getting work, and you know, everything for him is just how he responds, and take it from there.
And why did Austin miss this morning?
Just decided to keep him off. That's it. He just took the option. He'll be good to go tonight.
So that was a sigh of relief for a lot of Leaf fans. Austin Matthews, good to go tonight. That's good news for you, right, to hear Austin Matthews be in the lineup. Do you think Willie is back in the lineup tonight? Does Nylander play?
No. I really hope so. He's my favorite.
Not confident, hoping. Lots of hope over here. The Leafs could definitely use him. Nylander, the second leading scorer on the Leafs this year, 40 goals, 98 points. They can definitely use his offense. And I'll tell you what, the Leafs can definitely use a victory here in Game 3, a chance for them to take a lead in this series and continue to hang on to that momentum as they try to really take a stranglehold on the series today, Kelda.
All right, go Leafs and get that Bruins fan out of there. Thanks so much, Craig. Police in the GTA are seeing a significant shift in what's happening to stolen cars. While many are still being exported out of the country, criminal syndicates are increasingly selling them within the province, often to unsuspecting buyers. David Common has more.
Speeds about, they're going about 120.
We're inside a police surveillance operation in Peel, just west of Toronto.
Burns are red. Won't be able to catch up here.
Investigators are closing in on a couple they say are connected to the region's exploding auto thefts. What's happening here reveals a huge shift in what happens to cars after they're stolen.
All right, this is stolen from?
Canada.
From Canada?
Yes.
Less than a year ago, we were in West Africa locating vehicles stolen from Canada and sent abroad.
What could I see? There's the original Quebec license plate.
Back then, most stolen cars were exported, but that's changing. As thieves have moved to armed home invasions to seize keys, they're also increasingly keeping stolen vehicles in Canada.
So these are a bunch of stolen, recovered vehicles that we've pulled off the road.
These are pretty high value here.
Yeah, like you're sitting here, you're looking at, well, close to $1 million worth of cars.
Detective Sergeant Greg O'Connor runs Peel Regional Police's auto theft team. These are just some of the hundreds of stolen vehicles they've recovered. And increasingly, thieves have manipulated this 17-digit code. It's what's known as re-VINing. The vehicle identification number, or VIN, is unique to each vehicle. If it's stolen, the VIN is flagged. But criminals are replacing that VIN, harvesting one from a vehicle, a similar vehicle that's been totaled, or maybe one that's actually registered in another province or U.S. state. Now, how can that be? Well, it turns out government registration systems, they don't talk to one another. Police, like Peel's deputy chief, Nick Milinovich, say that has to change.
The reality is this is a national issue. And that's why a national registry that moves itself beyond any sort of provincial jurisdiction is important in all capacities.
So this is the replacement for the stolen vehicle?
Yeah, I went and bought my own.
Derek Crocker spent $60 grand on what turned out to be a re-VIN vehicle, buying from a place you might be surprised at.
At a dealership?
Yeah.
Turns out it was stolen?
It was stolen. And the whole reason you buy it from dealership is so you don't have to worry about dealing with that sort of thing, right?
This was that truck for sale in the dealer's lot. From the get-go, there were little tells. The app to remotely start the vehicle never worked.
It was telling me my gas mileage was different, all sorts of things. It was telling me the vehicle's in a different location.
Derek figured it was just a malfunction until he was in an accident. The body shop used the VIN on his dash to order parts, but those parts wouldn't fit. That's when Derek turned detective.
So I Googled the VIN number that was on my truck, and I found a truck for sale in Utah.
A second Ford F-150 with the same VIN. Turns out the VIN on his own truck had been replaced by criminals. The truck then sold to the dealership that Derek bought from.
It's crazy.
It was crazy. It was, I would never expect that.
There are a lot of people who have suddenly discovering they are driving re-VINed vehicles, stolen vehicles.
Yeah.
And insurance does not cover the loss. Derek had to fight for his money back from the dealer. The criminals, meanwhile, made thousands.
The market is so lucrative. It's so easy. Cash is king.
Peel Police invited us on this surveillance operation to spotlight how re-VINing is booming.
We're seeing younger and younger kids doing this, unfortunately, being recruited and pushed into this. Gangs is a massive problem.
O'Connor's undercover team is staking out a house now.
There's a green car.
Yeah, I see it.
Watching for their male suspect, so we have to keep our distance.
Would I be right that his purported role is that he is taking a vehicle that is known to be stolen and essentially cleaning it, turning it into a vehicle that looks like it's never been stolen?
Yeah, so he's a cleaner in that aspect.
Shit clean, bud.
Police allege the man they're tracking has been selling stolen cars with forged VINs and say his Instagram is full of car buyer testimonials.
Man got me this new Jetta. I'm pretty stoked.
I called up Milton. I told him I got my money up. I need plates. I need a car. And he got it just like that.
You give me cash, you got your car, you on the road. You ain't got to go to Service Ontario. You don't got to do no running around.
After hours of waiting, the man emerges.
They just closed the trunk of the SUV and now back in the house.
Detectives pursue discreetly. They don't want to blow their months-long investigation. Passing by them at intersections, that's the suspects there at the red light.
They're right by the big water tower on the R side.
Officers take turns following.
So they're right here at the intersection getting ready to go.
So that the suspects, a man in this silver car and a woman companion in the green one, don't get tipped off. Both vehicles pull into a Costco gas station. That's when we get our first look at the man.
It looks like they're lining up for the pumps here. I'm gonna have to work.
As both vehicles leave, investigators believe they may be about to catch them in the act.
He's pushing off. This guy's moving fast.
So there's 2 Service Ontarios up here, right by Airport Road.
There's a Service Ontario up at Chrysler, southbound on the 410.
Court documents allege the man revinned dozens of vehicles, exploiting a provision at Service Ontario allowing a person who's neither the vehicle owner nor purchaser to register a change in ownership, all as auto theft losses continue to grow.
In 2023, which was last year, Ontario alone is expected to be over $1 billion. So that gives you an idea of the scope.
Police believe their suspect is heading to Service Ontario now, but worry the pair may split up, so choose to make a move on them.
That's them right there.
We drive past just as officers surround their suspects. The man, 24-year-old Milton Hilton, faces 168 charges for trafficking stolen cars and passing fraudulent documents. He was released after a night in jail. Nothing has yet been proven in court.
We've been talking about auto theft for months and months and months. There's federal money, provincial money, there's a lot more arrests. Are things getting better?
We're not going to rest our way out of this issue. There's a lot more talk and a lot more people that are coming forward and wanting to stop this. But right now, it's a massive issue, a big problem.
The province is eliminating the requirement for sick notes. Soon, employers in the province won't be allowed to ask workers for a sick note for a short illness. It's just one of the changes the Ontario government is making to save time for family doctors and cut down on their paperwork. Queen's Park reporter Lorena Redekop has more.
Family doctors have been sounding the alarm that they're overwhelmed with hours of paperwork. Not all of it necessary. Today, the health minister announced changes she says will help.
To spend more time with their patients and less time filling out paperwork.
The government will prohibit sick notes for the 3 sick days a year that are permitted for workers across the province, though bosses may ask for proof, such as a receipt, or for the worker to attest to being sick. One doctor at the announcement says it won't only reduce paperwork.
It contributes to equity of patients. There are many who don't have family doctors and who are not able to get those important work notes to get paid.
The opposition says no sick notes are needed.
Just ban them. They serve no purpose.
The previous Liberal government did ban them in 2018. The Ford government then repealed that shortly after coming to power. The NDP health critic also wants the government to streamline medical forms needed for insurance.
Some of them have 3 pages, some of them have 7 pages, but it's all the same information. Mandate the insurance company to use one form.
The province says it will be simplifying 12 different medical forms. Another change, the government is expanding a pilot project to 150 doctors' offices, using artificial intelligence to summarize and transcribe patient visits, if a patient gives consent.
Unfortunately, the visit is often interrupted by the family doctor having to face their computer to type in notes. This multitasking is challenging and takes away from the time that I and my colleagues want to give to our patients.
Doctors are hopeful and also cautious.
AI is a new frontier with great potential to reduce administrative burden, but we need to test this technology.
The Liberal health critic, a doctor himself, says there are more bigger changes needed and more investment at a time when more than 2 million Ontarians don't have a family doctor.
Bringing in an AI, an artificial intelligence scribe pilot project sounds exciting. It doesn't strike at the heart of the matter.
Those changes for sick notes will require a legislative change. They'll be included in a new bill coming from the Ministry of Labour early next month. Lorena Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Some stretches on Ontario's 400 series highways will soon feel a little bit faster. The province today greenlighting an increased speed limit of 110 kilometers per hour, up from 100 on some highways outside the GTA. Now that's a reversal on previous decreases the province made years ago. Patrick Swadden has the details.
Much of Ontario's highway network was originally designed for speed limits of 110 kilometers per hour.
And come July, Ontarians can expect to see a lot more of those 110 signs. Transportation Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria saying today speed limits were reduced in the 1970s in response to the energy crisis, something his government is now trying to reverse.
Starting July 12th, our government is raising the speed limit permanently from 100 kilometers per hour to 110 kilometers per hour on 10 additional sections of provincial highways in northern and southern Ontario.
Highway 401 will be affected east of Tilbury, from Highway 35 to Cobourg, from Colborne through Belleville to Kingston, and from Highway 16 to the Quebec boundary. On Highway 403, Woodstock through Brantford to Hamilton will be lifted to 110, as will Highway 406 from Thorold to Welland, Highway 416 from Highway 401 to Ottawa, and Highway 69 from Sudbury to French River. It comes 2 years after the government raised the limit on 6 other highway sections. Zakaria saying it'll reduce congestion and commute times. Drivers we spoke to don't think it will make much of a difference.
People are already driving over 100 already.
Most people do 110 comfortably, and I guess it boils down to each person, how good a driver you are, how caring you are.
If you tell them a limit, they go over the limit anyways.
But that's not something OPP Sergeant Kerry Schmidt wants people to hear. He says just because the limits are up doesn't mean enforcement will go down.
Speeding and aggressive driving is the #1 killer on our roads.
Especially, he says, speeding well in excess of the posted limit.
One thing that has not changed is when stunt driving becomes appropriate. Drivers going 150 kilometers per hour, either in 100 or in 110 zone, are still going to be subject to stunt driving charges.
Meaning a license suspension and impounded vehicle. Most of the speed limit changes will happen in July, others following by the end of the year, at which point over a third of Ontario's highway network, 860 kilometers, will follow the 110 limit. Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. It's a special day for a very special graduating class in the city, and it will positively make you smile. Our Ali Chiasson met some furry friends who found their fur-ever job.
15 good boys and good girls, mostly retrievers and Labradors, are graduating, officially becoming CNIB guide dogs. They're now buddied up with their new owners who are visually impaired. It's International Guide Dog Day, which is all about recognition of the difference these dogs make in people's lives.
For someone with my vision, when it gets dark in the middle of winter at 3:30, 4 p.m., I lose all of my sight, and Joe can still see in the dark, so we're still able to go to the grocery store, go to the mall. And I also have a 4-year-old daughter, so it allows us to travel safely to the park, to the Tim Hortons, to wherever we want to go, and it's much better than me being able to concentrate with my cane, wrangle a 4-year-old, and also, cross the street safely. Joe takes care of a lot of that for me. With the cane hits the table, and that's how I know it's there. With Joe, he avoids the table, and if I don't know the table's there, he's doing his job.
So with the CNIB, we use mainly Labs, Golden Retrievers, and a cross of Lab Golden Retriever.
What is it about those breeds that's a good fit?
Yeah, the Labs and the Golden Retrievers they're willing to please, they pay attention to their handlers, and they're really smart dogs and friendly.
What happens at the formal training?
The formal training is where they actually learn to guide and learn the formal instructions associated with guide dog work, how to to lead people in their vest, or in their harnesses rather. So they're going to learn different routes with their new handler. They're going to learn how to ignore distractions. They're going to learn all these advanced commands that we don't teach them as puppies. I mean, it's amazing seeing the dogs getting paired together. I'm fairly new, so I haven't seen a lot of it, but the ones that I have seen will give you goosebumps. It's wonderful to see.
Would you like to meet him?
Yes, of course.
Okay, wait, Joe, wait. So you've already heard the story. You're about to see a different dog. When I take this off, he's about to become a puppy. And I got to be careful because there's other dogs around, but now you're able to pet him. So go ahead and reach down and you can say, hey, Joe.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Joe. Hello, Joe.
Joe.
Oh, that's incredible.
And that's a testament to the training. And now he's trying to eat food off the floor.
Oh, my goodness. Joe. Hello. We love it, Joe. So nice to meet you, Joe. Tough assignment today.
Each dog is paid for by the CNIB, and their fundraising programs pay for all the vet bills, so the owner and their guide dog can just focus on their puppy partnership. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
And Colette, isn't that just the story we needed to warm our hearts on this cool day?
I love it. I love seeing that. And I can just imagine when they get paired, what a great feeling that is, right? To watch that. Yeah, I have a rescue golden retriever, but it's a good thing he's just my pet, because he would never have passed any of that training, I'm afraid. He's a little bit of a turkey. But let's just go ahead and show you what's going on with our weather tonight. A bit of a turkey here. We've got a frost advisory in place. And, you know, it is kind of the beginning right now of that growing season. And so with that, certain areas meet this criteria, including the city of Toronto, the Niagara region. There's one for southwestern Ontario, too. It doesn't mean those are the only areas that are going to see the temperature tonight slip below freezing. That's going to be widespread, but these are where it meets the criteria for this particular time of year. And where are those temps going? Well, I'd say at least to -1 tomorrow morning. And we actually were there just a few days ago. We hit -1.4, but I'm thinking a few spots we may be sliding to -2. And at least in Toronto, we haven't been that cold since the end of last month. So that'll take a little getting used to. A chilly start tomorrow morning. The current temperatures are still holding, though, fairly nicely. Has felt good to get some of that clearing coming on through. The winds haven't felt great necessarily. They've been chilly. And in fact, it's the northerly flow that's kind of pulling down that Arctic air from the north. So as that comes in, it's giving us the clearing, but it's also dropping the temperatures overnight tonight with no blanket of cloud to keep any of the heat from the day in place. So we also get a benefit here, which means we get the clear skies tomorrow during the day. So we are going to have quite a lot of sunshine, not only for Thursday, but into Friday too. So I will say that, again, Friday morning, that'll be a chilly start too. We'll head to 0 for tomorrow night. But tomorrow's high? 9, Friday, 13, close to seasonal, and then some milder air, Kelda, coming in for the weekend.
That is good to hear. Thanks so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
Welcome back. A CBC investigation has found that more than 1/3 of the police officers suspended in Ontario over the past decade faced allegations of gender-based violence. This includes domestic abuse, sexual assault, and sexual harassment. Julie Ireton has the details.
How's it going today?
Carrie Lewis and her staff at Interval House help families fleeing from abuse. Lewis says some of the women who found shelter here left homes they shared with police officers.
And those are always the cases that are the most frightening for our staff, but also for survivors. And the reason why is because people who work in the system and are familiar with the laws, they know the boundaries, they know what they can get away with.
Former police constable Kelly Donovan is familiar with all these concerns. She now researches police culture and supports whistleblowers.
A woman might have said to her partner, like, stop doing this or I'm going to call the police, and they'll say, I am the police.
CBC's data shows 1 in 3 officer suspensions in Ontario since 2013 concerned gender-based violence. The vast majority fall under sexual assault and intimate partner violence. The conviction rate for this subset is around 36%, much lower than the conviction rate for officers accused of other crimes such as drug trafficking and fraud.
We can see when we look at these numbers that there's a lot more going on that is not being disclosed. Why are some services really hard on officers and others aren't?
Some say police culture is a big part of the problem.
Because they want to respect that culture of policing and that culture of we protect one another, which creates what we call this blue wall of silence.
This former police chief says he's disheartened by CBC's data, but he says officers are human and make mistakes.
Keeping in mind that these are events that occur in the officer's private life. I'm not suggesting that makes it better, but it's not something generally that's been committed while they're in their uniform doing their job at work.
They should be held to a much higher standard than anyone else because they hold such power.
Like the police, Lewis says her employees are responsible for protecting vulnerable people, but she says workers here would not be allowed to return to their job after those kinds of convictions. Julie Ireton, CBC News, Ottawa.
And we have a follow-up now to a CBC News investigation into abusive e-transfers. More people have since come forward saying they have been on the receiving end of harassing or threatening messages sent through online banking. But is it enough for Canadian banks to start taking steps to address the problem? Katie Nicholson takes a look.
Did I show you the message he sent me on TikTok?
Emma Parsons shows her mom, Carmen, all the unwanted messages she got from her ex after she broke up with him.
Well, they were very abusive messages. They were mean. They were trying to belittle me and bully me.
She blocked him on her phone and every platform, but the abusive messages continued, this time attached to e-transfers.
Well, so the first one was $1, and then I think the other ones were less than $5.
It's a problem Australian banks decided to tackle head on.
I read one that was a series of 900 messages, 1 cent at a time, saying things like, I want to kill you, I want to kill them all.
Catherine Fitzpatrick spearheaded many of the changes the industry made, including in-app reporting of abusive messages and programs which block abusive language. It even made one of them free to all banks worldwide. Fitzpatrick shared those solutions with the International Banking Federation, which includes the Canadian industry, 2 years ago.
No one deserves to have this abuse. So I would really encourage every bank in Canada to look at the way the Australian banks, some of the UK and the New Zealand banks are starting to move on this problem.
Scotiabank, RBC, TD, CIBC and BMO did not answer CBC News' questions about what steps they were taking to address the issue. They deferred to the Canadian Bankers Association. In an email, it said its members have policies and procedures in place to protect customers from harassment and encourages people to report abuse to the bank and the police. Emma Parsons' mom, Carmen, wants Canadian banks to do more to prevent abuse.
Why do we wait until someone tells them they have to, especially in this case where it's doing good and would be useful and helpful?
A small change that would have made them feel a lot safer. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
As we head to break, here's a look at where the markets closed today. The TSX fell 138 points. The Dow dropped 43 points. The dollar traded down at about 73 cents US. We'll be right back with another look at our top stories. It can be hard to imagine a time when Toronto wasn't a concrete jungle. Some environmentalists want to see that change, to see more of our natural history be revived. Lane Harrison takes us into the world of forgotten creeks and rivers that could help make the city a better place.
Across Toronto, a vast network of hidden waterways flow below the city's feet. As Toronto urbanized, rivers and streams were filled in and paved over.
Anything we can do to make the water cycle more natural is incredibly important.
Environmentalists like Helen Mills want to see the creeks rise to the surface again through a process known as daylighting.
Daylighting literally means to take the cover off the creek and allow daylight in, and hopefully get rid of the concrete channel and naturalize it. And that has so many wonderful benefits of cooling and slowing down the water and creating habitat like this.
Mills runs Lost Rivers, which hosts walks exploring waterways of the past, including Mud Creek, which used to snake through the city and now surfaces at the Evergreen Brickworks, running 11 kilometers from Downsview Park to the Don River.
This park was developed as a concept site to show people what is possible in a watershed.
After decades of talking about hidden waterways, Mills is happy the city has also started to take an interest.
Right now, you might not know it, but we are standing over a lost river.
Jeff Thompson is a senior planner with the city's environmental planning division.
There's been a push to explore new and better ways to adapt to and mitigate to climate change impacts. And one of those potential avenues for exploration is looking at daylighting.
In cities like Toronto, he says all the pavement and buildings absorb heat, creating what is known as an urban heat island effect.
Without areas of the city that are naturalized or have that tree canopy cover or permeable vegetated surface along the ground, you're going to retain that heat in the city and not get that cooling or that relief effect that the naturalized systems throughout the city can provide. And what daylighting does is it gives you that naturalized vegetated relief system.
When it comes to that work, Thompson says it's important staff look at things through an equitable lens.
Not everyone has the same access to the ravine system, to the park system, or even a backyard with trees and grass to go to on a really hot day. What I don't think the city would want to do is concentrate any restoration or daylighting works in a particularly affluent or centralized section of the city.
The work is in very early stages, with a report due at the end of the year. Thompson stresses the city is still a long way from making decisions on anything when it comes to daylighting or waterway restoration. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, Colette is back with the last check at your weather. And Colette, I think I could bear with a few more days of cooler temperatures if we're going to see like temperatures into the 20s on the weekend.
If you knew there's a payoff coming, you know, in a short period of time, okay, well, I might have something for you then, Kelda. Yeah, tonight is a night if you can protect any vegetation that you have that's tender, and you still have that option. And when we look at, you know, when we typically would get our last freeze into Toronto, it's kind of right around. We've got early April, late April here, yellow and green, right around mid-April. All right, so this is a little bit later. We're going to be likely looking at that frost overnight tonight. But it can happen in May. This is just on average. I'm not saying it's going to this year. I'm just saying that can occur. For us, we do have the advisory tonight. So for the City of Toronto, the Niagara region, because we're into the growing season, just beginning actually, and southwestern Ontario as well, as we will have these cooler temperatures overnight. So how low will we go? -1 to -2. It is going to be a chilly start tomorrow morning. You know, the clear skies overnight is part of the reason, plus that northerly wind pulling in the Arctic air, part of the reason we're going down to these cool temperatures. However, that also gives us the clear skies during the day tomorrow. We're going to have sunshine. Today's high, and if you're thinking it wasn't quite that warm, was it this afternoon? This is from just after midnight last night. We were still coming off the warmth from yesterday. The high and the low were right around there now, and also we were there this morning into, you know, the 6 o'clock hour or so. So we have the clear skies tonight. Now, the northerly winds will begin to back off as well. So high pressure is going to come in. It's going to stick around for a couple of days where we're going to have that sunshine. Then as we get towards the weekend, the next system will come in bringing that chance of rain. Now, keep in mind, it's not just tonight that's cool. Tomorrow night as well, likely down to freezing, so also a chilly start on Friday, but Friday we're close to seasonal for that daytime high. And then there's the payoff when it comes to the heat coming in for the weekend, even if we have to, you know, have that with some wet weather too, Kelda.
All right, I'll take it. Thanks so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you